Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast, a podcast devoted to you and your excellence, providing inspiration and education for the entrepreneurs, experience makers, and excellence seekers of our industry to take your tourism business and career to a whole new level.
Relax.
Welcome. Yes, relax and welcome back to the Tourism Hub podcast. Despina here, one woman show, checking that she's recording her episode. Today I am so excited and I just can't hide it. I am joined by the extra in capital letters, extraordinary, visionary entrepreneur of the Australian and beyond tourism market, who is fundamentally shifting how we think about destination marketing and the visitor experience in its entirety. I am speaking about none other than Hailey Brown, who is the founder of Vacayit, a free audio guide platform that creates immersive, sensory-rich narratives for travellers worldwide. With an academic background in both tourism and psychology, Hailey's work is driven by the core belief that the world is perceived through emotions. Also, a fierce advocate for co-design, the practice of designing for 100% of the population. She's delivered a powerful TED Talk. She's been on Forbes. I recently found out as well on Forbes magazine, which I will include everything in the show notes. Without further ado, the human in tourism that reminds us that travel is magical and that is making, strategic choices for all of us to make for accessibility isn't just the right thing to do. There's commercial gains in it for our businesses and our destinations. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Hailey Brown. I'm going to do it again, Hailey. Ready?
Yay!
Hailey.
I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Like I mentioned earlier, and I've said it to you many times, I knew at first glance, at first scroll, that I've got someone here that's doing something extraordinary for the marketplace, and that entrepreneurial spirit that you have is not just in tourism, in so many other things that we'll explore today. So thank you for being here. Thank you for saying yes, and thank you for taking two together.
No, it's perfect, and thanks so much, Despi, for having me. I've loved you since the first time we met. I've been so inspired by everything you've done in your career. So it's great to jump on here and talk to you.
Oh, great. Hailey, look, before we go into Vacayit, and there's so much to unpack, there's so much change that even since we've met now that we've experienced and together. But before that, and something that actually has just occurred to me, I remember having lunch with you and my daughter came along who had just finished her work week in year 10, and you just gave us the most sound advice about just following what you're interested in. And I want to go back to the Hailey when you were at that stage, when you, in that formative phase of your life where who do I want to be, what do I want to do? So before we land into adulthood or young adulthood, talk about what that looked like for you in those years.
Yeah, so my family, my dad is from upstate New York and my mum is from Queensland, and I grew up in my early years in California, and then I moved to Adelaide when I was young and then did my university in Queensland at the University of Queensland. So my family's always been split between the two countries. I'm sure you understand this, but it creates a lot more of a worldly view and I guess a lust for travel as well, and a desire to meet more people and see more of the world. So I would say that I always had the want to work in the tourism industry. I remember when I was 13 or 14 or 15, I can't remember how old it was, but I wrote 3 goals for myself, and it was by 25, I wanted to travel all continents. By 30, I wanted to be managing director of Tourism Australia. which is a bit ridiculous in hindsight, but whatever, a girl can dream. And I think I Googled, CEO that travels in Australia. And that's what it came up with. And I was like, I want that job. And then my last one was to live 15 lives by 35 and be okay to die any day after that. So the idea behind that is what one person says on their deathbed, I've done 15 times. And so I think I've maybe always been driven, but always driven to do things that I love.
Oh, oh, I love that. Like, what a bucket list to have that type of goal or thinking at such a young age. I mean, that would just propel you forward. So, do you still look at that list of things that you wanted to do? Is
Not
that still
really.
carried on?
I would love to do that one day. I mean, COVID, I was meant to get my 25, the old continents by 25. COVID really,
Yeah.
stuck that one down for sure. And so I'm just it's all things that I do want to do in my life, but I don't really put time frame or pressure on it. I just love following what I'm doing at the time and, following what my heart's telling me to do. But I like the sentiment that, the 15 lives by 35 always, because I think it just enables you to say yes to opportunities that arise.
Oh, ain't that the truth? I really love that. And if there's someone that has built a not just a business, but a life around that sense of freedom and adventure, there's no one that I can think of more than you that lives and breathes it and makes it look easy at
Yeah,
the time as well. But again, with goals, and I've been a little bit the same, but I'm getting into that again in the new year, just being more intentional with what it is. It's almost like
for
intentional
sure.
because it can get the craziness can and the time passes quickly and you kind of
Mm,
particularly at the time of this recording, we're coming to the end of the year, so it is a reflective time as well. So I really
for
love
sure.
that for anybody that's looking at a different way of goal setting. Straight off the bat, you've hit an opera moment, Hailey. That's a really lovely one. And also, I think just going back to that conversation around the young kids that are thinking about career, or thinking for anybody that's looking to change career and has been inspired by people like Hailey to do something different. That's a really good thing to look at. If things were to sunset, what is it that we're going to be really proud of achieving? And moving on from that, like, because when it came to you have a crush on the world, you love to travel,
That's a good way to put it. I like that. I'm going to use that.
crush on the world, and you want to travel and experience as much as you possibly can. What was that transition to now? Okay, I'm going to lay some foundations here and choose that I'm going to study this first. So take us through that gorgeous story of, I'm going to make this as a career. And what at that point did you have a career path outside of like being, which I think you would absolutely rock that at any age, to be the CEO of Tourism Australia or CEO of any
I
tourism.
think that was just always the end goal. That's why I went to uni to do
Oh, look
it.
at
But
never say never, I think. Never say never.
yeah.
Did you have an idea of what the job before you got that entrepreneurial, hit with the entrepreneurial shtick, that there's something here? Did you know what that would look like while you were studying?
Not necessarily. Because at university I studied tourism and psychology, and the reason that I did that was because I love travel and people, and there were two things that I really enjoyed. I never really wanted to become a psychologist, but I really loved the research and studies behind why people make decisions, why people do what they do, and understanding people at a deeper level, which I really do think has come into what our company is today. And I think for me, as I knew a path that I wanted, I knew I liked the tourism industry. I knew I really liked the people in the tourism industry. I found it to be one of the best industries for individuals starting out in their career, because I do really feel like, it doesn't seem like it's that hard to talk to a CEO of a company when you're an intern. I remember early days, I was interning at Queensland Tourism Industry Council, and Daniel Geschwind was my boss at the time, I guess. He was the CEO of the company. And, he would run past, on his way from media interview to media interview, and he would still always stop by to see like, oh, what do you need? What are you interested in? And he would print out little books to give me if for stuff that I'm interested in the tourism industry. And I found I really liked that there wasn't too much of a maybe power imbalance from the top to the bottom, which meant that I had a lot of opportunity to grow in the tourism industry. And so I think as far as an exact career and what that looked like, I was really just happy to jump in. I did another internship at Tourism Australia. I was hoping to work there if I didn't go down this path, and really probably would have just popped around and seen what I liked and what I didn't like. I think I enjoyed, global marketing and looking at how people receive different types of marketing around the world. But yeah, it's hard to say what I was really thinking that I wanted to do and the path that I wanted to go down, but definitely within the tourism industry.
And what a core to be able to have that foundation, I guess even just that awareness that, I love tourism, I love travel, and I love people, and to combine those two together, would be so valuable in what's to ensue. And I love also, I talk about a great human of tourism with Daniel, to be in that environment as an intern, and I guess opportunities that come up for our younger tourism networks, whether it's formal internships or putting your hand up to get involved. I think just being exposed to people and mentors like that is invaluable. And I love that too, because lately, Hailey, it's the little things, like the fact that he just took that time to pause and take interest in someone. That's something that will carry with you. I think a lot of leaders in our industry, possibly, I think in any industry, to never underestimate the power of that. The little things
For sure.
Care. Yeah.
And I think you're very impressionable when you're starting out your career. And I think people maybe forget how impressionable people are. And that was something that I really always admired about Daniel in particular, and a lot of other leaders. But he just treated everyone like they're at the same level, and he cared about their interest and he cared about their career growth. So that was something that, was very impactful to me in those early days.
Oh, and it just goes to the core of even saying in your bio and your TED talk, which I love, it's all about emotions, and that how you're making people feel, the fact that you're made to feel like that, and to be able to say, well, that's how I also want to make people feel as I grow and, transform into new versions of myself, depending on where you're at. So good. So tell me, so you've come out of school, you're doing some work. So take me to the time now where this idea or concept of creating travel for good that is inclusive and accessible to. Tell me about that journey that led through to Vacayit.
So when I was at the University of Queensland, I had the opportunity to present an idea to the World Tourism Forum about a gap in the tourism industry. And that was in my third year, and I had 4 years of my degree. And they chose 6 of us maybe from the entire degree to submit something. I think they heard that I did an internship at Tourism Australia, and so they let me present something, but I'm fairly sure the other 5 people were top of the class. So I think they just gave me a chance, honestly, which I'm very grateful for. And I presented an idea. My friend Henry had just gotten back from a trip in Africa, and Henry's been blind since birth, but he's an avid traveler and he travels all around the world. He's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. He's just incredible and has a very similar lust for travel as I do. So we've always gotten along on that front. And he came back from a trip from Africa, and he described a safari as a face full of dirt. It smelt like shit, and he was too scared to get out of the vehicle because he didn't want to get eaten alive. And which, in theory is quite funny, right? And when I realized, I just thought that we had such a gap in what our experience would be in that situation. And so when I asked him what would make his experience better, he said he would love to walk down the street and listen to the stories and sounds of the world around him. And he would love to access accurate accessibility information before he traveled and when he was there. And so I presented an idea to the World Tourism Forum, Lucerne, about an audio guide to the world where we work with destinations and tourism operators to create immersive and sensory audio guides, but also collect accurate accessibility information. And this was all during COVID, so it took almost 2 years to get there. So maybe 1.5 years. And so ended up becoming a finalist and getting to go to Switzerland and be in Lucerne, which was like, I mean, we went to Lucerne and then we went out to a ski village somewhere where they'd like rented out the town because of COVID. It was really surreal and ended up winning that Global Innovation Award for the Young Talent program, and came back to Australia and decided to take the company full time. And in that year and a half, we had a couple of heroes come on board, like Bundaberg Tourism, Yarra Valley, and Grampians, who said that they would trial with us and make it work. And they were great for helping us design our product because we co-designed with the industry and we also co-designed with people with disabilities. So on both sides.
In starting this, so you've won this. You won this opportunity as from a finalist to like now taking this full time, because you're still studying at this point. This is your third year. Like this
So
is
it took 2 years. So I won this award and then I flew on the first flight back into Australia. So this is end of 2022. So this is one of the first inbound flights. The media was there, the news was there. And then I arrived in Sydney where I stayed for 2 weeks, but the borders weren't open from Sydney to Queensland yet. And the day that the borders opened from Sydney to Queensland was the day of my graduation. And so I got on a flight, like express ordered an address, and went to my graduation that day, the day that I got back. It ended up working out really well.
well, Hailey, what's blowing my mind, and like I shouldn't be surprised because it's every time I'm with you, is that this is so recent. Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
relatively
like
recent.
you've
Yeah.
done so much. Like, I didn't realize this was like in COVID era that this happened.
Mm.
So I met
We
you
really only started the company
fresh. Yeah.
like I started thinking about it properly end of 2022.
Extra, extra, extra. Like this is so to navigate this, that okay, now I'm done. I'm gonna go all in. Tell me about that formation of now. Like, did Vacayit, even as the name, as the business model, was that part of the research and what you submitted, or is that then like how did that form when you
Mm.
decided I'm going all in?
Yeah, to an extent, it did help us research our market because we went out and we spoke to, hundreds of people across the world and different countries and backgrounds to see if we could get a trend. And majority of the trends just said that there's a lack of accessibility information and there's a lack of immersive experiences designed for people with disabilities. But I mean, then once I started to take it full time, so that's really what I presented was a lot of research around what I wanted to build. But as we moved forward over the next year before we launched, we co-designed with the tourism industry with some regions and, with the advice of tourism operators, and we asked a lot of questions. And I mean, we really probably for that first year after, like we launched in a year, and then probably that first year after, we were still really just solidifying what we wanted our business model to be and how we were going to be profitable and which path we wanted to take. And it was a bit of a long, short journey. It was just a lot of figuring it out along the way.
Yes. And that feedback, I guess, feedback from the consumer that vacate the audio guides start coming out. At what point, like with Henry, do you remember or take me back to the time where he's now listened to an audio, like that moment of the experience of seeing firsthand this full circle moment of the user experience from the other end going into the Bundy or Yarra Valley or Grampians and experience this. Tell me about some of those moments that you go, okay, this is just, I'm so glad I said yes. And I continued to follow this rather than just being a uni assignment.
Yeah, I mean, Henry was a great support through it all. He's just like, go get it, go give it a crack. Like he just wanted to see it done, and he's always been very proud along the path, and he's a really good, mentor to rely on and talk to about it, even if we talk few and whenever we talk.
Yeah.
Now that we live in different countries, but he's a very good friend. And I mean, I remember the first time he used one was actually probably like a year after it happened. And I saw like a post on Facebook and he said, "No, I'm sitting in Tasmania, sipping at a wine at a bar, and listening to the audio guides for my plant, like for what I'm doing the next day." And he, shows that ideas can become reality and that he was proud of me. And I think it was like a year later that he actually listened to it I don't know if he has. I don't think I've ever really asked him. I hope he gets to use it and I hope it benefits him. But I mean, he is the reason we started the company and he was the inspiration behind it. So, I mean, I'm sure he's done enough for, the wider population on that front.
Oh, totally. I'm like, oh, Henry, I wondered that first experience that he's actually listen to that and go, yes.
Yeah, I should ask him. That's a good question. He just supports everything. He's fantastic.
And look, and I feel like and that's really, I mean, that's when we all got out of anywhere when we met. But that's my big aha moment here, or uppa moment, is that was really the green stages. Like you're just starting this journey at that point. Now, when you listening to feedback and building the plane as it flies, so to speak, what I love through what you've done is also, through the team and the talent, it's been very much, from, employing, people with accessible needs, like the designers and the contributors to the platform and the guide, it's lived experience. Tell me about that evolution of now. It's not just Hailey with the idea and putting this. Now it's Hailey like as an employer and giving people opportunities. About that, was that just something that's natural? It's like a no-brainer, or is that something that how did that evolve from actually building the business?
Yeah. I mean, at the start, it was a way to help us, create a product that was designed for the target audience that we wanted it to be designed for. And I thought, who better than co-designing than people who actually, have lived experience and can consult on this properly. I think over time we built a really good product and really good systems. And now, just honestly, the people that we employ with a disability, they're just the best people for the job. It's less so of a we need help designing or we need their, unique lived experience. It's just that they are the best people for the job. And I think that's what happens when you create an accessible platform and you create accessible workforce, is that, you can just look at people for their skills and talent. You don't need to really hire based on, trying to make it more accessible, because our company is just intrinsically accessible.
Yes. And that's something that I think within the industry, there's a lot that, I think we're all just learning and doing and growing and just being more aware that accessibility, as you advocate for, being 100% accessible is so much more than what we probably introduced.
For sure.
Like, going back in my background, we had no idea, back in 2012, it was more that we were just saying no for the 10 years that I'd been there up at that stage. For anybody that wanted to join a balloon flight, they just couldn't do it in Australia. But it wasn't only that. It was like my father-in-law, it's his 90th birthday, but can he bring his little stand? He says, see, it doesn't take much room. No. It's like, how can we do better here? What can we do? But it was around physical
For sure.
needs. So I think that's why this journey with you've taken the industry on a journey with you. As you learn, we learn. And for all the incredible successes and stories and wins, there come learnings. Tell me about some of the fundamental learnings that you've learned by some of the, where there's been obstacles or challenges along the way, whether it's one or just generally over time when you get challenged. What have you learned about yourself, or what could you impart on any others that could be paralyzed through fear of the unknown if they've got an idea or want to pursue, whether it's a new career, a new job, or just want to start a business themselves.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power in relying on people who know a lot more than you. Like, I really think that's what it comes down to is I've leaned on a lot of people and I owe everything to a lot of people. And I've always said this from the start, when you start a company straight out, there was, I mean, everything from finance to, looking at the business models, looking at procurement processes, looking at actually how to set up a team, systems, efficient, like it's just things that you wouldn't think of. I just asked people for help until I felt comfortable enough doing it myself. And I think there's no problem in asking. And I think that's one of my biggest learnings is a lot of people are willing to help if you just ask. But most people don't ask. So, and I think there's also a lot of pride for the person that's being asked that they can share with someone to help make their life easier for something that they already had to learn and kind of suffer through in the past.
It's the simple things, right? It's just like the little
Yeah.
things, how you make people feel. I think that is like the big thing is so simple, and it's like if you don't know, just ask. There'll always be, and that's why. But going back to what you said, there's always someone within the industry that everybody is there to support. Well, everybody. I mean, that's not everybody. That's also can have its different challenges. I've certainly learned along the way, but through asking, you find out it might not be the whole how, but you find that next step. Now, in those moments of learning and growth, and when you are going through the motions of building a business with your team around you, is there how important has mentorship been in both, like seeking out, have you formally sought out mentors, or is that just through just asking and being in the right environments, picked people up along the way?
For sure. I mean, again, it goes back to asking for help. I think there's a lot of people who've been mentors in passing. I guess, never, I remember I had a QTIC mentor program, and probably my only official mentor was Sharpie, he's John Sharp. He created God every experience in Brisbane. But he was also my neighbor. So it was really good fun. Yeah. And we ended up, it ended up being, we realized, and we became really good friends over the years. And most recently, he's actually been on his accessibility journey and, creating the first wheelchair accessible story bridge climb and first wheelchair accessible first floating restaurant, which is like hanging off a building, but then also having wheelchair accessible. And when all this got launched, he was in New York with me. And we were like, this is such a great moment because for me, I learned so much from him. And, he also looked at the accessibility industry and he sought out a lot of help and asked a lot of people to design for accessibility. With him and his wife, Mel, we were just all in New York together. We're like, this is really fun, actually. This is, 3-4 years later. But yeah, I've had hundreds of people who I've looked up to and asked questions to. And, we've got Arnie Rhonda at QTIC. She's the Indigenous lead. I think she's been incredible at really helping me design for the Indigenous population and for Indigenous tourism operators and really just learn the history of our country. But I mean, God, like John Fitzgerald, he signed on Tasmania just before he left Tourism Tasmania, just because I reached out to him when I was an intern, and asked. I was like, I'm fairly sure I asked for a job or something on LinkedIn, or tell me how to be you. I'm sure it was something like that, and something embarrassing, I'm sure. And he followed the journey along, and he's like, hey, I've been following it. I really like what you're doing. And he signed up before we'd even launched at Tourism Tasmania, and, something we were very proud of. So, I mean, the list is endless. It's hard to bring anyone, I've had consistent people, the person who helps me with finance and the person who I speak to, every week, really just about business. There's a lot of people.
Oh, there's a lot of
You, Despi, of
that
course, you know
much
that.
to learn. Like I think for I always with whether it's like the Young Tourism Network or the Young Tourism Export Council Network or just our younger, because you really represent leadership for our young emerging leaders within Australia as well. Hailey, you've really been a great ambassador and source of inspiration. So many people that have along the way, and myself back at you included. So I think that's just such an important thing to recognize for anybody that might be like, is that's I feel so silly asking that, but look, from a little question or a little reach out, whether it's on
For sure.
LinkedIn. What a great story that here you are,
Yeah.
full circle experiences, and there'll be many, many more of those. And I mean, I also love like with the internship that you were still in school, whether that was a formal thing, like did that come up through Hailey? I was just curious there. I was like, I wonder if that internship, just even reaching out to Tourism Australia, was that something that was part of the school journey, or is that something that you made happen?
Both of them
Yeah,
I made
so good.
happen. Yeah,
Oh, so
I
good.
was at a QTIC networking event for QTIC, and I met Catherine Christensen, who was there, and I was like, I want to tell you about this app that I'm creating, and I would love to speak to Daniel. And she set up the meeting with her and Daniel, and she was a big advocate to get me in the room. And then when I was in there, I was like, well, I need course credits, so can I also work here? you know, and
So important. Like that's just how you roll. But I think for people, like it's important to listen to say you don't.
for sure. I emailed Pip, like Philippa Harrison, the managing director, and I was like, here's my resume with nothing on it. You should hire me. And, you just did a favor and was like, sure. you know? But yeah, got her email through a family friend and just went for it. And yeah, very grateful for all the people who just were like, yeah, right. I mean, like, who's messaging? Sure, like, we'll give her a chance. And I mean, it's so great because we've crossed paths so many times, and I've, been into the TA offices so many times since then and seen Pip, and it's been great. But she kind of gave me my first internship was Tourism Australia, and she kind of gave me my first shot in the tourism industry. And then to kind of talk to her as I really developed as my career in the tourism industry was just really special.
So special for everybody to hear. We have a lot of programs, a lot of initiatives that across the country in all the ticks and all the states. But if there's something that you want to experience when you're starting out, I mean, I just think that's such a good example of just making.
I message all the CEOs of all the states. Leanne Coddington, I caught up with in Melbourne the other day, and we were catching up about it. And she was like, "Yeah, I mean, I think John sent me you," and I was like, "Well, I already messaged you, Leanne, and you didn't,." But she's been a great mentor to me over the years. Like all these people, you just ask, like, what's the? And I'm so sorry to everybody. If anybody listens to this and then all these CEOs get messages, that's not my fault.
This is a sorry, not
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, this is not my fault. I don't.
And green and
I
look.
think I messaged the like managing director of the UN or something as well. Like I was just like, I want to be you. Let me be you. They were like, didn't
So
respond, but he accepted my request. I was like, good.
look, I remember hearing, I'm not sure where I heard this, but it's coming to me now that success leaves clues, and here are those clues to your journey. That it's
Yeah.
that's within you of like just say yes, and like insanely curious that say how okay, I see what's what's the B in between of what I have to go through. Yeah, so for anyone listening, there you have it. And it's something that I would encourage anybody to do, because I think we've lost the art of doing that in some way,
You don't
shape.
know if you don't ask. So,
You don't know if
and
you
you
don't
know
know.
what? They say no, and then you're just,
Oh,
that's
that's
all
right.
right. You just go to the next person.
Yeah, you've just got to. Look, it is, whether it's like your next job or next career, but in business, right? Just being able to ask, we need to stay profitable and sustainable in business. So, making those opportunities, whether you're running your tour operation or again, you're looking at your next phase now, at the next step of what that
For
looks like,
sure.
wherever it is. Yeah, asking, picking up the phone, dropping into a DM. It's look, we have a case in point here of what that can lead to. And when you're looking at those, I mean, I call them, Oprah's been, I just saw Oprah recently, but we'll save her for another time. She's always
She's
done that
great.
like aha moment, and I call them the Oprah moments, what that would. So, I mean, I think you've shared that already in that Henry moment that he's shared this with you, and it's like, this doesn't exist, and seeing that Oprah, I've read that E-Myth book, that entrepreneurial seizure. It sounds like that's what you had at that moment. It's just like this seizure of like, oh, wow. And then you can't not see it or stop thinking about it. Was that the moment, or did can you relate or share with us any other Oprah moment that you've had along the way that has been really intrinsic to the transformation that, like, you had it not been for that, you may not have been talking about Vacayit now?
Yeah, I mean, everything stemmed from that original conversation. But I think my real like aha moment that I had was in the early days when we were designing. I realized that accessibility was just a huge gap in the market. And I mean, for years we've been talking about physical infrastructure and accessibility, but we were never really talking about the visitor experience journey from a perspective of somebody who has a disability. And I mean, I've said this in a couple of talks before, so I'm sorry if you've heard it before, but I think what I really remember from university was we were so clued in to looking at the visitor experience journey. So from the moment they think about coming to the moment they book to the, like, they're there, then they leave, and what do they take home to their friends and family? That's something as an industry we always look at and we always talk about. But then when we talk about the disability visitor experience, it's can they get in the door? Can they access, the bathrooms? Can they get over the steps? Can we get them on the second floor? Is there a lift? And it was really limited to accessibility, and not just really in Australia, but I would say it was very new in the market still in 2020 when I started this. And I think what I realized is I was like, oh, this is a huge opportunity for, you know, to actually work with the tourism industry and help create better experiences that leave better experiences for people with disabilities and for everybody involved. And it's looking at like what we do. I would say majority of our listeners do not have a disability. And it's because what we create is for everybody. And I thought if we can do this just with audio at every point of the planning and experiencing journey, then maybe the before and after is easier and has a better memorable experience at the end of it. And I mean, I also think that a big part of that is that the market was receptive. And the tourism industry in general thought, all right, we're happy to pay attention to this. And it was, so I just think it was, a lot of it was right timing. A lot of it was looking at that, taking, what we had learned and then placed it into how, people's motives and every step of the journey. And then being able to use that exact story to kind of help bring the tourism industry in with it. And I really do feel like the tourism industry in general took a lot of pride in all of this. And they took a lot of pride in educating themselves on accessibility and not just physical infrastructure, but also experience. And so I think that aha moment was, one, this is a huge market that is untouched. This is a huge opportunity for people with disabilities to have better experiences, but then also that the tourism industry wanted it.
Yes.
And, and I think that was really powerful in itself, which, because you can't start something if people don't want it. And that's what I love about the industry is we always have a big open mind about what's next.
And I love everything that you've shared. It's just intrinsically connected to all the other touch points of the visitor experience. Because starting, like, almost the discipline of thinking audio for a business would have so many other benefits when you're looking at content. Because I remember when I peeled the layers on Vacayit, and the audio experience is like, this is quintessential next level framed content about an experience to evoke emotions when we can't also assume that someone is going to read or watch, right? So having the discipline to do that, to start there for the before, during, and after is really, really important. And where I want to lead to with that is for our experience makers that are listening and tuning in. We're talking about Vacayit, which is audio experience, which I love that too. Exactly what you've just shared. It's not just for people with visual needs, or it just enhances. It's an experience enhancer. For businesses, how can they get involved, and what is it that they're missing in the marketplace by not having the opportunity of a Vacayit option into their ecosystem to be found and to be experienced in a better way?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that majority of businesses in the Australian tourism industry have started their journey. And I mean, it doesn't matter how big or small the start is, as long as it's like people are moving and moving in a direction, because sometimes, those bigger infrastructure ones are actually a big investment piece, and they need to plan for that, and they need to put money aside for that, especially in a post-COVID era that, we're still all recovering slightly. And, then looking at the smaller pieces, I mean, what we're able to do is help them get the very early stuff, just something there. We can help them get their accessibility information and get it accurate so they can display it with their customers so that people can plan. But then we can also have something that they can offer to their customers to experience with or without a guide, to be able to learn about their experience. But we also get data back on how people listen to it. And I think that's important. It's an important tool to get on-site data around what people care about and what people don't for product development. But really, just at the end of the day, it's, inherently accessible just by the nature of audio. It's most people after COVID are wanting to get off their phones, but they still want to be connected to their phones. And so it kind of gives them a way to listen and navigate and find a deeper connection, and give them something that they can go home and tell their mum and dad about. And if it is for somebody with a disability who is listening to it, they feel included and they feel like you've made a product, and have designed for them. And I think people forget the power for a group that historically has been marginalized and forgotten about, designing something for a group of people, and then them knowing that you've designed it and giving them a personalized experience is very powerful in leaving a good, lasting impression. And so there's a lot of areas to it, and there's also obviously a financial aspect, which I'm sure everybody's heard, but really from a feeling perspective, I'd say that's what's important.
Yes. This is just as much for destinations, which you've done a lot of work in terms of like experiencing or building desire for placemaking. There's also that element, isn't there? Like working with destinations and region for that ability to give reason of the why you should choose to come, but also to experience it a lot deeper, a region. So it's not just product specific.
Yeah. So we usually work with states and regions as a way to plan and a way to experience, or how they can, choose what they want to do. And then we work with the tourism operators themselves so they can have the accurate accessibility information on their website, and they can also have the immersive tours that they can offer. But we work with events, we work with hotels, we really work with every arm of the tourism industry, and we work with everybody in a unique way to make it so that it benefits their visitors the best. It's very bespoke.
Bespoke and reportable. I love that there's so many metrics involved in this too that can come
For sure.
back. Like to be able to, in the world of intelligence, human and artificial, data is the most powerful thing that's coming out. And I love that.
Data's powerful.
Powerful. So this is an incredible opportunity to also build data in a whole new way that, we're seeing that clicks to websites even is something that is not, that is, becoming more and more unavailable to businesses with the way that things have changed. So there's a lot of reason to, I guess, explore a new way for anybody that hasn't considered accessible information done in a much more engaging and inclusive way. Now, curious, you've also been able to explore tourism in a whole new country. Like, is it the same, Hailey, or a bit different when you're looking at just the landscape of now you've been based in New York for a while? Have you had a chance to kind of get into, like, is it, we're so structured in, like, we've got, our country, states, our councils. Is it very different?
As far as structure goes, it's very similar. How they're funded is very different. Some are membership based like ours, but a majority of them are by tourist tax, so like hotel tax, store tax, and so they're all funded by the amount of visitors that are there. And so the tourism industry funds the tourism industry, which I actually think is a great model. But I mean, it's a very different time. And I think that's really what is new it's an interesting time to be landing in quite a volatile market.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, America has some of the best tourism experiences in the world. And, the destination marketing organizations operate very similarly to ours. And the tourism operators are very similar to ours as well. But marketing has fundamentally changed because you're marketing to very different groups of people.
Yes. Which is also universal for all of us too.
I think it's happening everywhere, yeah.
We're all navigating. I could talk to you, service in America, just even from service. That's why it's always good to look through a different lens, which I'm sure there's been a lot of observations and experience that you've had that you can take on board. Because I know when I've travelled to the States, I see the service. I know that that's the whole tipping structure, but I had an experience recently where I actually thought that you're going in, you're invisible as a customer. It's like, where has customer service gone? Whereas in the States, it's just something.
It's still there. I forget, like I'm back in Noosa with my family at the moment, and I sat down at the table, and I've only been out for like a year and a bit, and I sat down at the table and I just probably for 15 minutes, I thought, God, why aren't they coming? And I forget that everywhere in Australia, you've got a QR code that you scan. And that's how you order your food. I just thought, because even at the end, you have to pay, you give your card, and then you get like a check, and then you sign it. And so I forget that you pay at the start of the meal and your food just gets delivered, and it's as easy as that. And I was just sitting there for so long being like, are they going to come? Like, nobody likes me yet.
We can save it for another time, but does that feel good? No. It's like there's people still in here to acknowledge, make eye contact, smile, say hello, welcome. All of the fundamentals just because we've got a QR code. It's insane.
My grandpa from America does not get it. He's like, I like talking to him. Like, I like talking to people. That is where I get my joy in my day,
Yes, I'm with him. It's just, that's for.
I just didn't think about it until I left. It didn't bother me until I left, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. But it's missing. We talk about service, visitor servicing, and what all the incredible work you're doing is to give them a better experience. Yeah. Don't forget, again, the little things are the big things.
What sticks in your brain?
What sticks? Yeah, exactly. Go back to the very start. Exactly. Yeah, what you've said, the emotion, how you live to feel. Did I feel? Oprah. I'll share this with you. Have I can you see me? Can you hear me? Is what I'm saying matters. Does it matter to you?
I
Saying
like
the
that.
three fundamental truths of why she's had success is because she's really been intentional about that for her
Mm,
guests. And I just thought, wow, that's just, again, in service, in hospitality, in tourism, in events, in humanity, as we've found, being seen, being heard, and knowing that you matter to someone.
mm.
So yeah, we could all do better. Excellence fire round, because I have to, yeah, you're someone that's very easy to talk to, and yeah, go from breakfast to lunch to dinner here with, but we don't have. I want to respect your time, and we'll finish
Thank
off
you.
strong with what was initially holding you back. Was there anything that was holding you back when you wanted to push forward with your
Um, I
venture?
would say just probably I felt like I had a lack of experience and I felt like I didn't have everything that I needed to start a business. That's probably what I thought was holding me back at the start. But I mean, that's pretty easy to get over once you
Oh,
start because you just learn one thing at a time. Oh, you fail at this. All right, next. Or oh, miss that. That's kind of got consequences. All right, won't do that again. So I would say that. But, there's a way out of everything, a way to learn and people to ask.
and what I love is that you've turned that into your superpower, having no experience or be, not knowing that that's what's, you've gone and asked. So you've made that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, be part of the fabric of who you are. Best
Absolutely.
advice you've ever received?
I would say from my mum, when I asked, I was like, oh, do I take a grad job at one of the DMOs or should I start this company? And she said, opportunities pass in life. An opportunity that arises doesn't necessarily take you down the path that you thought you were going to go down, but it's an opportunity nonetheless. And because opportunities pass, they don't often come your way again. So it's okay to be spontaneous and it's okay to take opportunities when it arises because you don't know if it'll ever come again.
Oh, what sound advice. And just to have that level of, yeah, just to be encouraged, that level of encouragement like that. And to know
Mm,
mama is huge. Oh, love
mm.
it. Love it, love it. A personal habit outside of, of just being you. What's a personal habit that we might know about that contributes to the success that you've had so far?
Every morning, coffee and walk or coffee walk exercise every morning, whatever it is. I just don't start the day without a walk. Or as sometimes I'll go to the gym or sometimes I'll go to Pilates or whatever, but always
Yes,
walk.
yes, always work. And we did that too once in Brisbane, I remember. I
Yes,
haven't
I'm
done Brisbane,
yeah.
yeah. We
I'm
went out
a
coffee.
walker every morning. If anybody ever wants to walk, I'm always there every
Yeah.
morning.
Oh,
People join all the time. It's great.
so good, so good. And now, with all of the tools, the AIs and the automations, is there something that you can't live without? And a resource, a tech resource, or not? Is there something that?
I like AI. I try not to use it too much, but I mean it's really helpful sometimes at managing my thoughts in one place or helping challenge my thinking or help with business problems that maybe wouldn't or balance books even you know little
Yeah.
things like that. But the other thing I will say, a fun little AI tool is Cursor, CURSOR, I believe it is, and it helps you code a platform just by prompts. And so you don't
Wow.
actually need to have the platform. So if anybody wants to just quick prototype, it's a great tool to do that.
Yeah, cursor. There you go. And that, I mean, even that transition, we'll save it for another time. I hope this is not the last time we talk, but, even experiencing our before and after AI in business,
For
yeah,
sure.
I'm certainly having, yeah, it's been mind blowing. So, and speaking of books, can you recommend? Do you love to read? And is there a,
I'm
yeah,
like a 2 or 3 books a year person.
yeah,
I'm getting better now that I'm in New York because there's no internet on the train. But I would say the book that I read this year that I really enjoyed was The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. It's this idea that repeated actions turning repeated actions into automatic routine saves a lot of mental energy, and it allows us to, it frees us from having to consciously decide every little thing, which allows our brain to focus on more complex tasks. And I like it because I did a psychology degree. And so the whole thing is just like different examples of workplaces and people and relationships and whatever it might be. Even, people who've damaged parts of their brains, but they can still remember how to go on a walk every single morning because that's their routine. And there's still parts of the brain that you can train even after parts have been injured. And I like it because it kind of helps me. I thought it was a great book from a psychology perspective, but I also thought it was great to, realize that there is a lot of power in habits to make your days more efficient and easier.
So good. Power of habits. I'll look that one up. I'm looking for some good reads.
It's a good, like, open it up and you can continue whenever.
Yeah. Worldly traveler, favorite holiday destination or travel experience that you've had of late, or a real memorable one that you could share with us?
I really liked Bolivia. I thought Bolivia was wonderful because it's a city surrounded by mountains and it doesn't have a lot of resources. And, poverty and living under the line is very prevalent there because there's also, I don't know if this has changed in the last 4 years, but you don't have to pay tax or something if your house isn't completed. So you'd see a lot of uncompleted houses. But what was really interesting is how great it was as a city, because they used all the mountains around and all the natural resources, and their way of transport was by cable cars over the city in La Paz. And I just thought, God, it's such a developed and well thought out town for a very undeveloped place. It was just interesting, and the people were wonderful.
Wow. The people always make a big impression too. You've had a great experience.
For sure.
And people matter. Hailey, how can anybody that's listening and being inspired to reach out to, what's the best way to find you and connect with you?
On LinkedIn, on Instagram, we're Vacayit_app. That's VACAYIT. And then, yes, we're on everything, Facebook. And if you want to reach out to us, we'll work together. Usually that's just best done through our website, through our inquire button, and then we can reach you there.
Incredible. Well, I'll definitely add all of those links to link up directly with Hailey girl. And speaking of, to our special guest today in this episode, thank you. I can't thank you enough for making the time.
Thanks, Despy.
And making this happen. Hailey, I always feel like this is just the beginning, and we'll keep following and connecting together, and maybe maybe this is something we can do at the end of next year. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, ditto. Well, have yourself a wonderful day, and all the best for the next chapter. And thank you to everybody that's joined us on the Tourism Hub.
Thank you.
And here's to making today better than yesterday with everything that we know and learn and that we've shared. All right, I'm going to try something new now. I've got an outro that's going to go on. So I wish everyone, all the love. Okay, bye for now. There we go.